Good afternoon, Facebookers. A very warm welcome to you. It is 12 noon on Friday, the 11th of December. I nearly said the 12th. I'm going into the weekend a bit too early, but it's the 11th of December. Really warm welcome to everybody. I am so delighted you could join us. And the wonderful Adele Platts. Hello, Kim.
Hi, Mary. Lovely to see you again.
Lovely to see you too. This is our episode 8 of Lessons in Leadership. I am Mary Gregory, and I'm really excited about the sorts of guests we're getting on here. And I'm particularly excited to be speaking to Kim today because, Kim, I know that you have a very rich history and journey to share with us in terms of your leadership and where you've got to with your leadership. You're now a coach, coaching board level, C-suite leaders in organizations, but before that you've also had your own experiences as a CEO and leading organizations through all sorts of different changes and restructures. So lots to share with us today. I'm very much looking forward to hearing what you have to say. So let's kick off then, because you know you're now working as a coach supporting leaders in the C-suite, but you've had your own experiences firsthand as well. But even before then, you've had a very rich journey in terms of your experiences through your life and through working, both running your own business and working in the corporate world as well. So would you mind just giving us a bit of background as to how you've got to be where you are?
Yeah, of course. So I had probably an unusual start. So I left school at 16 to be a hairdresser. It's all I ever wanted to do. And at 19, I set my own business up, and I was a little bit smug. I was like, yay, I've achieved my goals. So, you know, everything's going perfectly. And life loves a little plot twist. So at 22, I think it was, I lost the feeling in my hands and legs. And we spent a long time working out what it was. And they eventually identified I was allergic to perm lotion, which in the 90s, not so good. Perms were popular.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even be there when anybody else permed. So I couldn't run my business anymore. I sold it to a girl that worked for me. And I'm proud to say she still runs it today. My niece goes there. So some 28 years on. And then I got a 15-hour-a-week temporary contract as a cashier at the local bank while I worked out what to do next, because my career path had suddenly changed. And I kind of went into it with a whole piece of going, well, I just need the job. So whatever they offer me, I'll go, yeah, okay, I'll give that a go. And I very quickly moved around from cashier to receptionist to interviewer to salesperson, mortgage advisor, and then became a branch manager really quite early, and then started moving around financial services. So I worked for most of the big banks, worked my way up, got my first director's role in my early 30s, and kind of just kept going. I then moved across into IT software, back into financial services, but all the time with this horrendous imposter syndrome, this feeling that kind of, even when I was sat on the board, I'd sit there and go, you know, one day they're going to realize I'm just the hairdresser, and they're going to go, oh my God, well, the hairdresser on the board, get her off. It's like, this is going to be no good. And it was a horrendous thing to try and live with, to have that voice in your head telling you weren't good enough, telling you that you weren't going to be successful, that you were going to be found out, because that voice is with you all of the time. And it took me a long time, probably in the last couple of years, to realize that whilst I thought being a hairdresser was my vulnerability, it was actually my superpower. Because as a hairdresser, you are taught to listen to people, to really listen to what's important to them, to understand what it is they're trying to do, and then to try and make that happen, which is basically leadership. All of our people want to be listened to, understood, and respected. And when you give that to them, they will work wonders for you, because they will want to work with you.
Absolutely. And I think listening is probably the skill that leaders need to keep developing onwards and onwards. I mean, I know as a coach, you get taught, you know, loads of development around your listening, and it's a constant having to take care of yourself, manage your state, be present. It's actually being present affects the most powerful listening, I think causes the most powerful listening. And yet so often as human beings, and it's not so much, it's not necessarily pointing the finger on this as people aren't good at this. It's because of the human state of being human that we seem to find it so much easier to talk and want to get our point of view across than listen.
Absolutely. So we tend to listen to interject, not to understand,
Yes.
because we're wanting to demonstrate that we were listening. So it's like, oh, if I add something, then they'll know I'm listening. And sometimes you've got to be present. And there's a whole skill around owning the silence. I used to be horrendous at this. The minute there was silence, I'd feel awful, so I'd fill it. And I talk a lot, so everybody that knows me knows. But what I've now learned to do is go, actually, some people just need the silence to give themselves a chance to think. So kind and leave the silence there. It's won't be uncomfortable. You're respecting the fact that you're giving them time to focus themselves, think about what it is that they want to say, and then say it. Because all of that encourages that respect.
Completely. And just being present and being with people makes such a difference. So can't underestimate the power of being able to listen as a leader. It's kind of the leadership skill in many, many ways. So I want to say hello to Bracken, who has just joined us. Nice to see you, Bracken. Thank you for your comments. She's really enjoying what you've got to say here today. So it's good that we've got some people watching and making comments. I want to just skip back a bit, because in your journey you talked what I hear is you were totally open to opportunities. So you engaged with possibility when you went into your role in the bank, and just were prepared to give it all a go, and that's really benefited you, that kind of open mind. But at the same time, you were navigating this internal imposter, particularly as you became more senior in the organization. And I think, you know, I've coached lots of leaders, and the imposter is ever present. Just because you're at the top of the organization doesn't make you immune to having an imposter. So it'd be really useful to hear from you your reflections on how to manage that critical voice that is having a go at us and telling us we're faking it rather than we're actually really doing it. So tell us a bit more about that, if you don't mind.
No, absolutely. And I think, you know, the first thing is to realize that you're not in it on your own. And you feel like it at the time when you've got that inner voice that's going on, you feel like the only person in the world that feels like such a fraud. And the reality is 70% of us will face an imposter at some point. And even Einstein had it. So he has a quote, which is, "The esteem within which my works are held leave me feeling like an unlikely swindler." So knowing that helped, because you kind of like, at least you feel a little bit less of a less of a lunatic. I mean, if I'm honest, I struggled with that for so long. But I also, having my little girl was a massive moment for me. And because I remember at one point, I unfortunately had an illness I wasn't certain I was going to survive from. And I went to go and write the letter to give her all the advice that I would like to give her. And I didn't know how to start that letter, to be fair. I mean, how do you start that letter? So I went into her room, and I remember looking in at her, fast asleep and snoring. And it suddenly hit me that the voice we talk to ourselves becomes the voice we teach our children to talk to themselves. And it felt like the world stopped, or maybe just my heart. And I remember in that moment saying, if I survive, I will do whatever it takes, whatever work I need to do to make sure that the voice I've used on myself does not become the one she uses on herself. So I then dedicated the next few years to really learning, really understanding what is it that was causing me to feel like that. And I had another breakthrough moment, which was I inadvertently was making my opinion more important than anybody else's opinion. And for anybody that resonates with being an imposter, that makes no sense. You don't think your opinion's greater. And yet inadvertently you are doing so, because every time somebody gives you a compliment, or every time somebody offers you an opportunity, you say, oh God, if only they knew that I'm not very good at this, that I'm not worthy, that somebody would be better, they wouldn't tell me. But the reality is, that means you're saying your opinion of yourself, that you are rubbish, is better than their opinion of you, that you're fantastic. Now that actually won't sit well with you, because you won't believe that your opinion is better. So what I learned was borrow their belief. So if somebody gives me an opportunity, if I trust and respect them, then I know that they're doing that because they believe in me. And then I will borrow their belief and do my best to not let them down until I find my own. And it's probably been one of my greatest leadership lessons, which is it's in all of our gift to loan people our belief in them. at moments when they doubt themselves. And it's one of the greatest gifts as a leader that you can give, is to go to somebody and lend them your belief. Let them know that actually you've got this. And I remember doing it once at a big organization. We're our final day, a final sales day, and we had got a mountain to climb. And if we didn't hit it, the whole company was going to miss its target. So the pressure was on. And I remember standing up at the start of the day, and I genuinely meant every word. And I said, if there's any good karma in the world, this is the team that's going to achieve, because you have shown up every day. You've done exactly what we asked you to do. You've put the customer first. You have not given into the pressure, and you keep showing up, being authentic, being honest. And I believe that if there is any team in the world that can do it, this is the team that can do it. Yeah. And if you don't believe, borrow my belief, because we can do this. And I must have done the shout out 3 or 4 times. By lunchtime, I'd got the entire exec team coming down as well to get a burst of energy. We had the most amazing day. We didn't just hit the number, we annihilated it. But for me, it was about the moment that you saw that they believed. Yes. So they no longer needed my belief because they had their own. And that was the moment that the culture changed. And it was just one of the best days of my working life, to be fair.
Yes, I really, really like that. That is a fantastic story. And the whole borrowing, that's kind of opened my eyes. Borrow the belief. Borrow. You're right. If someone gives you a compliment and you go, don't, it's nothing. You're not being respectful to the person who's given you the compliment, because actually they are acknowledging you and they are seeing something in you. And borrow it from them, because actually it must be there, otherwise they wouldn't be seeing it. Absolutely. So it's a fantastic story, and it shows the impact it can have organization wide as a leader, the difference you can make as a leader if you support people by acknowledging and offering them positive beliefs to believe in as well.
Absolutely. Because I think that's one of the things I've learned over the years is people have positive intention. They might have a negative impact, but they have a positive intention. Yeah. And what happens when we give feedback is people defend their intention. They defend what they were trying to do, because they don't want you to think they were trying to get it wrong, or they're useless, or they were doing something bad. So what I now do with people is I start by saying, what I think you're trying to achieve is, let's get nailed on what your intention is. Brilliant. Now all I need to talk to you about is the fact that while that's your intention, it's not your impact. Yeah. So how do we work together to help you achieve your goal? Because your goal's brilliant. It's exactly what I want. People are more accepting of it, because they now know you think that they're doing the right thing. You think that they're a good person, and you're their ally in helping them achieve it. Yeah. So they now open their mind to listen to where they're getting in their own way. And you'll know, Mary, as a coach, that's kind of what we do as coaches, isn't it?
Yes.
We help people where they're getting in their own way. And I remember somebody saying to me, as a coach, do you just think you're better than us? And I was like, no. If as a coach we were better, then actually every top politician, every top actor, every top business person, they all have a coach. If the coach were better than them, it would be their name that we know. The point of the coach is we can stand behind you and say, when you run ever so slightly to the left. And if you didn't, you'd shave 3 seconds off your personal best. So we're there to shine a light on people's blind spots, because we all have blind spots.
Absolutely.
And that's why we have coaches ourselves, to shine a light on ours.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's a question come through from Bracken, actually, is, how do you rally yourself round on days when you just don't feel it? We all have those days when we might get up and it's like, how do you get yourself going?
So I'm renowned, but I love a quote. So I pick a quote every morning to choose my mindset, because there have been times, over the years, there's been the odd adversity, whether it's been an illness or a divorce or those things where it gets tough. And actually, Mo, we were just chatting about when we worked together a long time ago. And actually, a lot of people wouldn't have known that I had 3 traumatic events a week before I started that job. And yet I turned up every day with a big smile on my face and did my best to not allow those to come out. And actually, during that period, my coping mechanism was I worked out if I started crying at 8 p.m. and I finished by 2 a.m. in the morning, nobody'd ever know. Because it was between my daughter's feet, and it was long enough to get over not looking like you've been punched in the face when you went into work the next day. So I did for 4.5 months. That was my coping mechanism. And yet every morning when I got in the car and I had to go because I needed to earn the money to be able to keep a roof over our heads and to have a purpose. I think one of the things that I've learned is when things are really overwhelming, we can spiral into the things we can't control. We can't control them. Like, it's not going to change anything. Worrying about it doesn't change anything. It changes you. So instead, I focus on what can I do right now? So I can't do any of those things, but what can I do, and take that step? Because in every step that you take, you change your vantage point, and all of a sudden something you can't see comes into sight. And it doesn't have to be big. We sometimes wait for the whole picture to emerge. And I think it was Michael Jordan who said, you don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the next step. And I think that's kind of been my motto in life, which is whatever life's thrown at me, is what step can I take? And take it.
I think that's really, really valid advice in these difficult times where everything is so uncertain. And, you know, 1 minute we're in lockdown, then we're coming out. 1 minute we're in tier 3, then we're in tier 2, or whatever, and we're all over the place. It's really helpful to just think, what is the next thing I need to do here? So I've got another question here then around, where does that fit with vision? Because the whole thing is, as leaders, we have a vision, and the more we co-create that with our people, the better, but we've still got a vision. So if we're only taking one step, how does that align with our vision?
So I think what we've got to say is, you know, we need to know our destination. So I always explain it to my teams as saying, look, it's my job to let you know that we're going to Edinburgh. So that's our vision. We're going to Edinburgh. I don't know how we're going to get there. You know, we might start off on the train, but something may go wrong, and we may have to get off the train and get a taxi or get a boat or fly somewhere. So how we get there may change, because life gives us uncertainty. It gives us obstacles that we can't see today. But what we don't do is take our eye off the goal. The goal is we're going to Edinburgh. And as a result, I want you to help me. What are the options? When a stumbling block comes up, what are the options? And the one step still works, because, as Lao Tzu said, journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step. It does
indeed,
So every step we take, we're still getting closer to our vision. And I think for me, it's giving people the opportunity to take part in your story, to take part in your vision as a leader. So one of the biggest leadership skills for me is the ability to create a compelling story. So describing to people where we're going, why we're going there, why it's important, but then recognizing that your people, it's a little bit like directing a film. So you direct a film, you've cast your cast, you kind of pick the people. But if you think about it, if you had somebody like Helen Mirren as one of your cast members, you wouldn't tell her exactly how to bring the character to life. You'd give her the part and let her play it her way. And I think for me, that's the part of leadership that we need to really help people step into. Which is actually allow your people to play their part their way. Trust that actually that's what you're employing them to do, and give them the freedom to do that. And I promise you, they'll play it better than you would ever imagine if you would tried to micromanage it.
Oh, that's really, really gorgeous, Kim. Gosh, there's so much wisdom coming through here. I'm a bit overwhelmed by it all. There's just so many different lessons that you're leaving us with today. It's sort of, as we move to concluding our conversation, I mean, I feel like you shared your turning point moment already, but was there anything else that you wanted to add to that moment? Because that one about sharing it with the sales team and borrowing the belief sounded like a phenomenal moment, but is there anything else there that you want to share?
It was a phenomenal moment, but I didn't understand it at the time. Because my inner imposter was so great. So my biggest turn point has been being a mum. It's been where I've learned the most about leadership. Because if I were to say to you all, anyone who's listening, that tomorrow when you get up, you're going to have to learn to walk or talk or eat or run or skip, you'd be overwhelmed. We would all be overwhelmed. And yet the reality is, at our most vulnerable, we've already done it. And why have we done it? We've done it because, one, we just wanted to be like everybody else. Two, we didn't understand how to say, no, I can't, because we hadn't learned that yet. And three, we had people around us that believed in us. For anybody who's a parent or knows a child that's been learning to walk, you stand there going, come on, sweetheart, you're nearly there. I know you can do this. We cheer them on. And we've ceased to do that for each other as adults. And if we do, we can have the power to help people learn to walk. We've done it for children. We can do it for our people. And
Yes.
that would probably be my biggest learn.
That is amazing. And what that links into me for is, giving people, cheering people on, having people's backs, really cheering them on. That makes such a difference. And last week when we were talking to Paul Spiers, he talked about kindness and how much kindness was starting to show up in business from his perspective. I know that whole cheering on and support element is also linked very much to your belief around kindness and leadership. Could you share a bit more about that for us?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think kindness is so important. So for me, the 3 things that I think leaders need to really get in touch with now, particularly now, is how to lead with kindness, with humanity, and with courage. Because often we talk about kindness and we go, well, that's all okay, but we're downsizing, we're furloughing, we're doing something else. You have to have the courage to make the difficult decisions.
Yes.
Then the kindness and the humanity to hold people's hand across that journey.
Yes.
And I know we chatted on this briefly. I'm very conscious of time, so I'll try and keep it really brief.
It's okay, don't worry.
When we do I've had to do a big redundancy program, and unfortunately you end up as the leader feeling a little bit guilty that you didn't lead it in a way that allowed it to not be in this position, and you know that your message is not going to go down well because nobody gets excited about redundancies. So you make it about you. You think you feel a bit under attack and it becomes cold. But the reality is the people that are being made redundant, it's not about them. And I say that meaning it is happening to them. They are impacted. They're going to be the ones that have to live with it. But the reason I say it's not about them is there was nothing they could do. It's not because they were a bad employee. It's not because they weren't good at their job. It's not because you wouldn't love to still have them work for you. It was because they are at the bottom often of the food chain and there was nothing they could have done to turn the oil tanker. So having the kindness and the empathy to put yourself in the difficult position and say, I'm really sorry. You are here because I couldn't lead you better. I couldn't turn the company around to not be in this position. But please don't make it about you, because I would love you to come back and work for me at the point that I grow. And because you're an amazing person who's got great talent, allow them to go into their next role with the respect and the confidence that they deserve. And do that by putting yourself in that vulnerable space and saying, I'm sorry. And you deserve to have me acknowledge that.
So being vulnerable as a leader, being human, treating your people as human beings, not just categories or objects. They are human beings who have potential and have potential to come back and re-engage and fulfill their potential in the future as well. So there's loads there. You're sharing so many lessons for us, Kim. Thank you so much. What are your parting words for our listeners today? What would be what's any advice you'd like to pass on as a final sort of share?
So I guess my advice would be, if you can, as a leader, I always think my people are my customers. So if they don't like what I'm doing, they won't work for me. And that's probably one of our biggest challenges. But actually, you know all the people that you know and love, and think about your people as people that you know and love. So how would you like your brother or sister or mother or father or loved one or child to be treated in whatever job they do? And then do your best to create that for your people.
Fantastic. And you yeah, absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Kim. You are a complete dynamo and a complete bundle of energy. It's just been really great to have you here today. Do follow up with us. If you are watching on follow up, not watching live, do ask your questions or make comments when you see this video. Kim has got so much wisdom to share and has shared it with us today. I'd like to thank her again, and I look forward to seeing you sometime soon, I hope. Maybe not before Christmas, but in the new year, it'd be great to get together.
Oh no, it would be lovely. I would really look forward to that, Mary. And thank you for being so kind and having me on and letting me spout whatever comes into my...
It's been a complete pleasure. It's been a complete pleasure. It stretches my thinking as well, which is always really good. So I'd just like to say thank you to everybody for watching today, and for those that are watching on catch up. Next week is episode 9 of Lessons in Leadership, and I'm very pleased to be welcoming Jamie Bunce, who is the CEO of Inspired Villagers. And the game that Jamie's up for is all about transforming the experience of elderly living. So Inspired Villagers have the most wonderful communities that they're building around the country to support us as we move into our next phase of our lives, and be supported and have a really good quality experience. And it's not just about the people, the end customer, it's also about the sorts of environments and communities that he's building with his team as well. So he's a wonderfully inspiring leader. Do join us next week to hear from Jamie. So that kind of leaves us from today for me to say my fond farewells. I do look forward to meeting you all again next week for more lessons in leadership. Thank you for joining us today, and see you in a week's time. Bye for now.